Let's start in Boksburg now, where the third day of the SACP elective conference is in full swing in that Ekurhuleni town. President Cyril Ramaphosa has delivered the keynote address in his capacity as ANC president. Let's cross live now to our reporter Govan Whittles, who can give us a wrap of what the president has told the delegates who are there. Govan, let's start with what he said towards the end there, saying that he's cooperating with investigations around his Phala farm, but will not be bullied. What did he mean exactly? Were there any undertones that you picked up from there?
Thank you, Maseko. The president essentially saying he won't be intimidating into abandoning the renewal agenda for the ANC, saying that he's committed to working with the investigators of the Phala farm scandal, and he'll also appear before the Integrity Commission, but he won't stop the renewal program. And he's described it as a battle fight for the soul of the ANC, and saying that in this fight for the soul of the ANC, he'll be holding a special NEC meeting, and at that NEC meeting they'll be consolidating the program of action towards the renewal of the party. Essentially, this is the most resolute and strongest commentary we've heard from the president regarding the Phala farm, also how it relates to his work inside the ANC. This as some of the radical economic transformation elements of the ANC planning to march to Luthuli House, and yesterday the EFF calling on the president to be impeached as the head of state. A clear response today from Cyril Ramaphosa to the SACP's conference that he's not going anywhere, but he'll also continue to cooperate with that investigation by the police, as well as some of the questions from the Integrity Commission. The president also dropping another bombshell here at the SACP conference, mentioning that the Mineral Resources and Energy Minister, Govan Whittles, has suggested to him the formation of another state-owned entity to generate power, essentially ESCOM 2, and saying that he believes this is a good idea, and this giving us a clearer indication of what he may announce. He said it again today that he'll be announcing within the next few days concrete steps to alleviate the pressure on ESCOM, to also alleviate the shortfall in generation capacity. We're still waiting for that announcement. He's promised it in his weekly newsletter, but today we heard more from him regarding the state of ESCOM and it being in distress for 15 years. Let's take a look quickly at one of the comments from the president regarding South Africa's energy crisis.
All right, Govan, it looks like we don't have that readily available just yet. But, he also spoke a lot about ESCOM, and some of the things that he told the delegates there was obviously things that we know. For instance, that ESCOM is ailing and that we have inequalities in South Africa, etc. But I'm interested to know how the delegates there received him. I mean, with the renewal path of the ANC, a lot of people have had only bad things to say about the party, even members of the party themselves.
Delegates of the SACP here welcoming the president's insistence that he won't be bullied or intimidated. Also further welcoming his veiled confirmation that he won't step down after those calls were made by opposition parties, and certainly his decision to continue the program of renewal despite the criticism that's coming from within the party being welcomed by many of the delegates here. He does appear to have the support of the SACP, even as there were questions raised on the first day of this Congress by the Young Communist League around the Phala farm scandal. The outgoing General Secretary of the party, Blade Nzimande, saying that the party welcomes his decision to cooperate with the law enforcement agencies. Blade Nzimande also questioning the use of the information about the robbery by the former DG of State Security, Arthur Fraser, inferring that Arthur Fraser had access to classified information that he obtained during his normal working movements as the DG of the SSA, and then chose to use that information privately after he had left the organization. And the General Secretary, Blade Nzimande, questioning the timing of those charges being laid at the Rosebank police station. And we were closely monitoring the reaction of the delegates here to the speech, not only the parts of the speech that dealt with the Phala farm scandal or the problems within the ANC, but bit more broadly the assessment of South Africa's economic position and what it would require to achieve economic growth. And by and large, it appeared as if the delegates didn't necessarily respond to his commentary regarding economic growth, but were very attentively listening and responding to comments on the alliance, on the state of the ANC, and of course renewal. Interestingly, the president admitting that the ANC has not completed its discussions around the reconfiguration of the alliance, and admitting that the alliance at a national level hasn't been working as it should have been, particularly over the last 5 months or so. That ties into comments by the COSATU president, Zingiso, that said there can be no renewal with criminals. Criminals should be jailed, essentially pointing to what's been one of the major stumbling blocks in fixing that relationship. There is an expectation from the alliance partners, the SACP and COSATU, that the president should act against those against him or those that are with him in the ANC that have been implicated in wrongdoing by the state capture report, but also those who face criminal charges. So that's what they expect following this conference, and based on what he said, it appears that the president is preparing himself to act. Certainly that is the expectation and perception generated by his comments, that he will be pushing ahead with the renewal of the ANC.
Well, of course, the SACP as part of the tripartite alliance will also be a huge role player in terms of the ANC's National Elective Conference in December. And I heard one of the journalists there asking him about, what he thought about the ANC's provincial conferences that have been taking place, the mess that was Gauteng, and the fact that we're expecting KZN to finally go to Congress next week. What did he say about that?
Yes, he said he would be addressing that KZN conference, which is happening next week, but also says that they're working with all the structures in the province. When it comes to KZN, it's quite interesting because that is, of course, where the Radical Economic Transformation grouping believes that they have a significant amount of support. But just quickly, Maseko, I see that the General Secretary of the Communist Party, Dr. Blade Nzimande, has joined us now to give us some commentary. Thank you for taking the time out to speak to us, GS. Let's just begin with what were very strong and clear comments by the President, remaining resolute in the face of criticism, calls from opposition parties for him to stand down. But within the ANC, a small grouping today, affiliated to the Radical Economic Transformation grouping, marching to Lutuli House. It did seem like we saw the clearest indication from the president that he won't back down from this fight. What do you think?
Absolutely. His message was on spot, in the sense that he sent a clear message. Firstly, what we welcome is commitment to the discussions and the finalization on the issue of the reconfiguration of the alliance, as well as also invitation to SACP in their own right as ANC members to participate in the renewal of the African National Congress. A very open and important invitation, that's very important. But most importantly, as you say, he was very firm that he is aware that some of these attacks on him are actually aimed at derailing the ANC, at derailing government. They are largely factionalist. Some of them are part of the Fight Back campaign, and that he is not going to allow this to actually detract him. When we joke on the side, we say, that's the buffalo we know. When he spoke today, that very strong, very firm, and straight to actually say he can understand what is important. You see, that is very significant, because sometimes these things, they act as a detraction. And people tend to believe these detractions as if they are real, when in fact the aim is actually part of either this counter-revolution that we are facing, or this kind of factionalism of trying to steal our organization by people that have been associated with state capture.
A very succinct description of the July violence and riots as well by the president today. He went back to the terming of it as a failed attempt of insurrection meant to undermine the law, which is the same way that the SACP has described this, and now it creates more expectation for action to be taken on this. The president also saying they're going into this special NEC meeting with the intent of intensifying the renewal of the party. What kind of expectations do those comments create?
Well, to us it's a continuation of what we are expecting, because on the score of renewal, he is actually leading from the front. And it's very important that the president is actually able to set the tone, because what it does is that it rallies all those forces who are genuine, and we regard the SACP as part of those genuine forces, that should actually not be detracted even by some of the opportunistic, populist opposition voices that are trying to convey a message that the country is falling on all of us and that they actually have got solution. The message was clear here, and as communists we are taking that message loud and clear, that we are going to defend our movement, we're going to defend our revolution, and as the president said, we are going to defend the gains that we've actually made. That message has come across very loud and clear to the SACP, and it's the right platform of the SACP, because indeed we've been very firm in principles. We are not going to be intimidated by threats of organizations created yesterday who think that they can actually do as they like in our country. This is not just about, as the president said, this is about the soul of the ANC. But it goes beyond the soul of the ANC. As he said, it's about South Africa. It's about who we are. It's about the gains we've made. Yes, we have lots of problems and challenges, but we must not allow those problems and challenges to be opportunistically exploited by forces who are part of counter-revolution or fight back, or forces who have their backs against the wall because of action that has got to be taken arising out of the State Capture Commission report.
Thank you for your time, GS. Before you go, just one more question. A bombshell of sorts, and an assertion or a hint that ESCOM 2 should be created after the president said he believes that idea by Mineral Resources Energy Minister Govan Whittles is a good idea. What do you think of that?
Well, we will have to discuss that when we actually have the details, on what the thinking is about. What we took away from the president is that there is no intention to privatize, because we will oppose privatization as the SACP, as we have always done before. He has committed it is not. It is a way of actually trying to deal. We'll watch that very closely. He's invited us to do that. We will indeed do so once we are able to get the details.
All right, thank you so much. That's the General Secretary, outgoing General Secretary of the SACP, possibly his last interview before elections will be held here at the SACP conference, and welcoming those comments by the President, which will certainly be analyzed by delegates here as they break into commissions, and of course the other guests who are members of the ANC and COSATU taking part in this conference. For now, it's back to you.
All right, Govan Whittles live for us in Boksburg. I picked up what Blade Nzimande said to Govan in that interview, and he said that's the buffalo we know. As soon as President Cyril Ramaphosa spoke about not wanting to be intimidated as investigations continue into the robbery at his Palapala farm, let's remind you exactly what he said.
I have pledged my full cooperation to the investigation process that is underway. I am prepared to be held accountable. I opted of my own volition to appear before the Integrity Commission. We were meant to meet a week ago, but the date did not suit everyone. We will finalize another date in days that come, and I will go before the Integrity Commission. But I would like to say I will not allow these allegations to deter me from what needs to be done to rebuild our economy. I will not allow this to deter me, to discourage me from the work that I have to do. And I will not be intimidated, nor distracted, nor bullied into submission.